Our countries are uniquely positioned to make a considerable leap in the regional and international steel market. The journey towards harnessing our steel production capacity not only highlights our abundant mineral resources, especially in iron ore, but also reflects a shifting policy environment and investment landscape aimed at unlocking these resources. With an estimated 20 to 25 billion tons of proven and probable iron ore reserves, Sub-Saharan Africa possesses the natural resources needed not only to meet its rapidly growing domestic demand, but also to position itself as a major global exporter. The establishment of the Tororo steel industry sends a very powerful message that our countries possess both the capacity and the courage to build globally competitive industries that drive Africa's transformation. It embodies the spirit of self-reliance and innovation envisioned in the Africa Union's Agenda 2063 and advances the objectives of African free continental area by fostering regional value addition, industrial growth, and sustainable economic integration. I reiterate that we will work together, and this facility that I take a lot of pride in to participate in its launch is not just a Ugandan facility. It is an East African facility. The steel that is going to come from here, and we appreciate that God has given us resources, and Uganda happens to have the best steel or iron ore reserves. It is therefore befitting that this factory is established here, not just to serve Uganda, but to serve Kenya, East Africa, and the region at large. We currently import in Kenya close to $850 million of steel from the rest of the world. We would be very happy that that $850 million would be in our region if this factory was to supply steel to Kenya. And I am confident that that is how the future is going to look. Let me also commend you, Mr. President, for agreeing to work with us. The ministers were in Nairobi last week, and I have given them appropriate guidance on the need for Uganda and Kenya, public and private, to jointly own the Kenya Pipeline Company, the company that supplies or provides the pipeline for supply of fuel into our region. The government of Kenya will be divesting up to 65%, and I am happy that Uganda is prepared to co-invest with us, because that Kenya pipeline facility is not just a Kenyan facility. It is a regional facility. Therefore, as the government of Uganda invests in the Kenya Pipeline Company, I want to encourage Ugandans and East Africans to equally invest, because we will make shares available both to public entities, but more importantly, to citizens of our region, so that we can diversify ownership of the facilities that we have in our region. Secondly, Mr. President, let me also reiterate that the joint investment of the pipeline from Eldoret through Kampala to the border with DRC and to Rwanda is an advanced stage. The government of Kenya, we have given approval for our two governments to work together to co-invest in extending that pipeline, so that it can serve East Africa as we jointly own that facility. And thirdly, Mr. President, in January, we will be launching the extension of the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Kampala and onward to join the pipeline from Kampala from Malaba to Kampala and onward to DRC. Again, that investment that we will coordinate the two governments is for us to be able to improve transport and logistics in our region so that we can be better competitive as we seek to be a region that works together. Your Excellency, I am very confident of the progress that we are making as a region. Uganda is the largest destination of goods and services. Last year, we exported close to 120 billion Kenya shillings to this great country. And the bilateral relations between Uganda and Kenya are solid. Let me assure you, Mr. President, that Kenya is going to work with Uganda and other regional partners for the prosperity of this region, to create a much more competitive region, to make sure that we extend the pipeline, to make sure that we co-invest in the pipeline, that we extend the railway. And Mr. President, next week on Friday, I will be launching the dualing of the road from Rironi near Nairobi that will come all the way to Malaba. As you know, Mr. President, today that road is getting slower as traffic increases. And therefore, we have made the strategic decision to create a highway and dual that road so that we can facilitate faster movement of goods, people, and services between Kenya, Uganda, and the rest of the East African hinterland. And so I want to assure you that we are going to work together. And I know people in the journalist space, and it is good I speak about it here, tried to create an impression that Uganda had said something to the effect that they need to access the sea by all means. Let me assure the naysayers that Uganda and Kenya are brothers and sisters, and we do not have time for negative engagement. Uganda is assured of the access to the sea through Kenya, and that is why we are not only extending the pipeline, we are also extending the road, and we are also extending the railway, because we believe that this region needs to move as one. For those who want to engage us in negative talk, we want to tell them, please give us a break. We do not have time for negative talk. We have time for progress. We want to work together to create jobs. We want to work together to attract investment. We want to work together to do investments like the one I see here today, the ones we are doing in Kenya and doing in the rest of this region. We want to connect this region so that we can share prosperity, because poverty cannot be shared. I reiterate Kenya's readiness to continue working hand in hand with Uganda, Rwanda, and all our East African partners to transform today's milestone into tomorrow's prosperity. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for inviting me to participate with you in this great event. And I want to assure you of the people of Kenya's continued friendship, commitment, and working together for the progress of our region. Thank you very much. God bless you.
His Excellency President Ruto and the visiting delegation, Dr. Guru, and the other investors, all the leaders, and the people of Tororo. Africa has suffered for the last 500 years. First of all, under the attack of the slave traders and the colonialists. And when we started getting independence, which is 70 years ago, with Ghana, Sudan, we can say that Africa has been betrayed in these 70 years. It is very important for all the leaders to audit and see what's happening. Just now, I asked my staff here to check on the internet, which you can all do. What is the size of the GDP of the whole of Africa? My girl here checked on the internet. It is $2.8 trillion. The whole of Africa. What is the size of the GDP of USA? 30 trillion. The United States is a quarter of the land area of Africa, and their population is 1/5. But you here, our wealth, 2.8 trillion, America's wealth, 30 trillion. That's more than 10 times bigger. Now, this is what we saw when we were part of the student movement in the 1960s. And we told leaders at that time what I'm telling you today. And we had to go through many phases, fighting and so on. So when eventually we came into government, we put out the 10 points program of the NRM. And point number 5 was pointing to what is the cause of this stagnation of Africa. The cause is the hemorrhage of development energies from Africa to other parts of the world. Especially, initially the export of slaves, because initially slaves were being exported, labor, free labor was being exported. Then later on, now raw materials. So what we are doing here is not just launching a project. It is part of the liberation process of Africa. It is part of ending the betrayal, usaliti or Africa. This iron ore, the hematite, which is very pure, some years ago, not in Kabale, but another place called Kanungu, there's also the same hematite there. A group came from India, and they agreed with my local villagers there in Kanungu to export unprocessed iron ore, obtare. I was telling you, Guru, they don't have enough words in English. So I was giving him our words here. Obtare. Obtare is the word for iron ore. So those fellows had agreed with an Indian company to sell obtare to India. And then when I called them, how much are you going to get? $47 a ton. And how much would this Indian get? That time it was like $900 a ton. And then all the jobs would go. You would lose money, you would lose jobs. So what we are doing here is extending what I have done in the whole sector of minerals. I have banned the export of unprocessed minerals, all of them. Let them stay in the ground. If the present generation are asleep, kama watu wale wamelala, labda huko mbele wengine watakuja ambao wako na macho ya kuona. So I want to congratulate Dr. Guru for helping us fulfill our vision of adding value to this butare. Mpigie makofi. Congratulate His Excellency President Ruto for encouraging Mr. Guru to come here. Now you have heard the implications of this project.